This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we'll call to order the Budget Committee meeting for May 25th, 2021. Are there any addition or removal of agenda items? Is someone, you have an addition?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
There's a motion by George Tice.
Second.
Noni, second. Discussion, Bruce?
I haven't seen the agenda. Could you do it really fast?
Could I read it?
Yeah.
I'll take it one.
Yeah, she's bringing you one.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So I'll call the roll. Dale Webb?
Aye.
Dan Potter?
Aye.
J.R. Allen?
Aye.
Rick Hobart?
Aye.
Noni Anderson?
Aye.
Bruce McNair?
Aye.
Donald Norman?
Aye.
George Tice?
Aye.
Motion carried. We do not have minutes to approve, do we? I didn't see him. No.
I don't think she got to him.
Okay.
I didn't
So
get-
we'll move on to budget deliberation by fund. Did everyone receive the proposal update pages in the email? All right. So we're going to start with administration fund. So the fourth page of those pages.
Sorry.
Just the general administrative, not the overall general fund.
My pages aren't numbered, Josette. You say general administrative,
Yes.
1645-10?
No, just I'm just talking about, we're starting with the pages that have general administrative on the top.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So Ange, do you want to go over it? You want me to go over what we're,
Yeah, I can just go over the changes.
okay.
So we reduced the payroll expense in the admin fund and shifted that money over to the cemetery, which we'll talk about when we get to the cemetery. So we pulled a little bit out of there and then increased the transfers out at the very bottom to 24,000. And then the difference then comes out of contingency. And let me, hang on. So the difference was $6,816. So that, and then what we pulled out of payroll expense equals the 14,000 that we wanted to add to the reserve fund.
Go ahead, JR.
There was a discrepancy of $5 on that, Angie. Because the
Okay.
7,179 out of payroll that went to cemetery cost
Right.
added to 6816 comes to 13,995.
Okay.
I was wondering if you're gonna have to adjust some number, $5 somewhere else.
No, the general fund captures all of the funds and the balance. The net revenue is zero, so that's the number I look at. So there must just
Okay.
been a typo somewhere within that fund, but it's all transferred over and balanced to zero.
Okay.
So are there any questions on this proposed change?
Help me out again, please, with the page you're on.
Well, so we're talking general administrative. We're on the pages that came in the email.
Okay,
So-
I have that as page 4.
What?
I have that as page 4 of 8.
Yes, so under salaries, 1500-00. line item 1500-00. You'll see that the proposed was 250. We took some of that and are making cemetery pay for it because they had more income come in, so it goes down to 244,688. And then if you turn the page, Sam, at the bottom
Yeah.
contingency, you'll see that the 50,886 went to 44,780 because we took the 6,000 there.
Okay.
And then right below on 9850-99, the transfers out in the revised proposed budget are the $24,000 that council set with their reserve policy going into the general fund facility reserve.
Check.
So are there any questions, comments, clarifications about the proposed changes? Dale, go ahead.
Well, the proposed change is one option, correct?
Well, you guys could not agree at your meeting, so staff took it back. Do you have a different proposal?
I would like to poll the committee to see what their opinion is on keeping or getting rid of the handyman cemetery caretaker position.
That's not up for the committee's debate. You guys deal with the numbers. The consequences of those numbers is my job.
I don't believe that's correct.
Yeah, the
But the
budget
committee
committee has the
and
power to not.
council has the discretion of what monies to put in the budget.
Right, but if you tweak the general fund in general administrative, then the proposed consequences of that budget, you may lower the salary. What happens with the employees is not the budget committee's purview.
But we are adding a position, and that's proposed in the budget. And
Right.
I think that's still fair game for the budget committee and ultimately the council, whether they okay that or not.
The council already approved the position.
Well, that's why I'd like to poll to see if we've had a change of heart, because
But you can't act
we
as
were
council.
not fully informed as to what the consequences were going to be of adding this position.
What are the consequences, Dale?
It looks like a budget moving forward into future years of a dwindling cash carry forward, which isn't going to be sustainable.
How do you figure that?
Look at what you're already projecting.
Yeah, we
And-
had a weird year this year.
And if you look in there, your contingency dropped from 90,000 and now it's down to 44. And you can eat up numbers internally and it's going to catch up with us. So
the tricky part is you can't act as council when you're in the budget committee. You're just the 5 council members that are part of the budget committee. So it's not really legit to poll the committee and see if there's been a change apart from the council's perspective. That needs to happen at a council meeting.
Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
I have a question that pertains to the finance director. So we refer to this term as handyman / cemetery caretaker.
Facilities
That-
maintenance.
Okay. So if you take out the cost for the cemetery caretaker part, what is left for the handyman part? And I'm including a loaded up cost.
I don't have that off the top of my head, Bruce.
What's
I
the
can tell you what we
salary?
did last year.
What is the salary part?
Is it a third?
Let me look.
Was it expected that 1/3 of his overall time would be spent at the cemetery? or whoever, he or she?
Approximately, yes.
Then Bruce, is that close enough to move forward with your question answer?
It would, Sam, but I would like to have the actual numbers, because I would propose. Go ahead, Ange.
Last year, we had a half-time position budgeted at the cemetery. 1,040 hours is what was in the budget for the current year that we're in right now.
And how much was that? What did that cost?
$15,000
$15,000, and you're proposing to pay 38 on this position?
total.
23,000 is the handyman part.
I hate that you guys call it a handyman, but
Yeah, you should really just call it a facilities maintenance, kind of.
Okay, I'll call it whatever you want to. You know what I'm talking about. So, facility maintenance person. Okay, from now on, I'll use that term. That's where, Dale, the budget committee has the ability to take the 23,000 out of that admin fund, along with whatever insurance, PERS, FICA, Medicare, that would be associated with that position out.
Right, but what I was trying to explain to Dale is, say you take 10,000 out of admin. Ultimately, if, say, the budget committee was for taking money out of admin and the council was still for a position, then the onus falls on me to figure out how to do what we're supposed to do with the positions with the money given. It's not like you can defund a position and not, you can't, if you take money out, you don't have control over what the consequences of those are. That's not the budget committee's deal.
But the budget committee has, and finally the council has say over expenditures. They can't tell you maybe how to do it, but they can tell you how much you got.
Right, that's
So,
true.
I'm just talking about a path forward for the proposal that he was trying to make, and to separate himself away from what is her duties, what are our duties. Do you get where I'm going, Dale?
I do.
Okay.
Ultimately, the council has the final say.
Yeah.
It's kind of a moot point if nobody on the council has changed their opinion, then there's no need to pursue this any further.
Oh,
Even if the budget committee says they don't want it, the council will reinstate it.
They can, but at their own,
So can we,
doing that entails open up a can of worms.
okay. George, go ahead.
My question was, Angie published an email that said 990 hours were spent this past year with the, whatever that person was called, facilities.
That's the hours that Public Works spent doing all those all those jobs that they're not supposed to do. That's not in their job description.
So you want to charge, so the question is, do you want to charge those to the general fund?
I do.
Okay, that was I'm happy.
Go ahead, Noni.
Did the council approve this position?
Yes.
Then only the council can change that.
Right.
We cannot, as the budget committee, change what the council has already approved. That's policy right now.
Right.
We can defund it.
What's your guys' beef with this position anyway? I don't understand.
Go ahead, Dale.
So correct me if I'm wrong. That was in a workshop. There was no formal motion.
No.
And when there was it was consensus vote. And that only pertained to taking money out of the general fund to pay for the caretaker. It did not include the words maintenance man or handyman.
That's not true.
I went back.
It wasn't a work session, Dale, because I don't go to work sessions. It was at a regular council meeting, and we pitched the position as it is right now.
Well, I can go back and listen. I can show you the video. I listened to it.
Okay.
It morphed during that meeting. Only thing we officially okayed was the general fund monies.
And now we were taking that out of the general fund and putting it back in the cemetery. So what's your
Some of
argument
it.
there?
I don't know what your point is.
My point is you just said you guys approved to pay for the position for the cemetery out of the general fund, and now that is moved back to the cemetery, but you still don't want to pay for anything out of the general fund for a job that we need, a position that we need for the upkeep of all the city facilities. It's not like we're just trying to hire somebody else to sit in here in the office or something. It's like it's a legitimate thing that needs to happen. And the public works guys don't have the time. And they cost more. And they get charged to the general fund when they do the work. So we're paying the money one way or another.
Which raises a question. So then evidently this admin fund has money in there that we've been paying the Public Works Committee with, or Public Works crew with.
If they get charged, if they work in the general fund, they get charged to the general fund. Whether or not it's necessarily been budgeted ahead of time doesn't matter. It's just like water and sewer. The hours they work in water get charged to water. If we end up at the end of the year where things need to be adjusted, then I have to go in and figure that out. But yeah, I'm not going to charge their time to water if they're up here changing lights or unclogging gutters or doing God knows what else. That's not legit. You guys,
I guess my point was is we were already paying 990 hours of public works crew within the current in this year's current budget. Yet we're adding quite a bit more money in this proposed budget for the new position. It seems like some of that wage is already there.
Or it could be saved.
So I did find it. It was presented at the March 15th council meeting as a staff report.
Okay, yeah.
New business facility. The title is City Facilities Maintenance and Cemetery Caretaker Position. So it was at a formal council meeting in the staff report with both of those parts on it. I mean, both things listed as what we're planning.
May I ask, back to what Angie was discussing, is the 1,000 hours that was billed last year from Public Works, does that show up as a savings moving forward?
What do you mean?
If that was paid out to Public Works last year and this position gets approved, is there going to be a savings in that area moving forward?
In the general fund?
Oh, however you paid Public Works.
Possibly a little. I mean, I don't budget for Public Works hours in the general fund in this proposed budget. I never have. The only thing we've ever budgeted for additionally in general fund is a seasonal position for the guy that comes and mows the open space, which we haven't hired that position. I don't think we even had anybody last year, and we don't have anybody for that position this year.
It just stands to reason that if this position was created in order to save wages that are higher, there should be some money left over from that would go toward this.
Well, the Public Works salaries did not equate to a 2/3 time position. The reason that we pitched it as a full-time position is because there's a whole lot more work that needs to happen that isn't happening. There's 0 preventative maintenance done on any of our facilities. I don't know how smart that is. I mean, if this just goes down the wayside and we don't have this position, then we'll just start having to hire contractors to fix things. So, I mean, one way or another, we're going to be spending money. And I get that, you know, some of you have a hard time swallowing the fact that it's a full-time position with benefits and all that stuff. But like we said at the beginning, if you want to attract a decent employee, you have to give them a value. If you just piecemeal it out with a whole bunch of part-time people, they're going to do crappy work. And I don't know. We're just trying to make the city better. And
Yeah. That part of it's not my focus.
it's just frustrating for me. I'm too married to this idea because we worked on it for so long and thought we had everybody's buy-in, and now clearly we don't. So it's just frustrating.
Go ahead, JR.
Yes, I understand your frustration, Angie, and it was a council decision to approve it. I remember that myself. But it was pitched as the cemetery can't sustain taking care of it. So it was pitched as it was going to come out of the general fund and we had the money to do that. And a third of that time, or half that time, would be roughly $35,000 cost to the cemetery if you were to pay it out the cemetery fund. I do have concerns that we took $7,179 and pushed it off onto the cemetery as soon as we got a little extra cash in there, because I've been told and we've been pitched that the columbarium was going to pay for itself and have extra money to buy another one. And I'm a little concerned that if the money gets all spent, how are we going to buy another columbarium? So
we haven't even received.
Well,
we haven't started pitching that yet. So
right. Well, let me finish. Because what it's looking like is the general fund is pretty tight without just wiping out our contingencies or our cash carryover. And I think that's what's concerning the budget committee is the drop of 70 or 77,000 or whatever it comes out to be, plus contingencies are dropping. And it doesn't take a math genius to go, if it continues for 3 more years, all of our reserves are going to be basically gone on cash carryover. So I think Sam Potter's point was, if we're saving money by hiring it, how come it doesn't show on the budget?
we're not saving money overall because this person it's a fully loaded position. I never charged benefits for public works to the general fund. It was just their salary.
Right, but is the intention for the cemetery to not be charged part of this? Half of it, a third of it, 10%? I mean, I'm worried the cemetery fund is going to dwindle down and then we need another columbarium. Are we going to borrow that from the general fund?
I don't know. I don't have an answer. You guys have got me so turned upside down. I don't know what's going on.
I think I could.
I thought it was all good to go. So now you guys are backpedaling like crazy. I don't know. I don't care anymore.
I think I can answer part of the question about where the difference, because what Public Works did was strictly physical.
Right.
This position also has responsibilities for the people who are burying or using the columbarium.
Right.
As I recall, the job description, is that correct?
Yes, they're going to be helping
So there's more than the physical work on the cemetery grounds. It's not just groundskeeping.
For clarification, the Public Works never did anything in the cemetery. They weren't used for those in that form.
That's right.
So that has nothing to do with cemetery. That has to do with entirely the maintenance of these buildings here. So it's on that facility maintenance side.
I had one more point I wanted to point out. We have an employee making $25 an hour on here, basically, that we get zero work out of. And it's the IT cost. $52,000 a year. And I've had heartburn about this last year, which is $4,000 a month, $1,000 a week, or $25 an hour for 2,080 hours. So there's $25 an hour in IT charge, and I thought we were going to cut that this year.
I thought I explained that to you at the last meeting. If you want to dump IT, then great. The city can just stop operating because that's crazy. We have nobody to take care of the servers and keep the stuff up to date and make sure that our information isn't hacked or stolen or the system shut down. And I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
So JR, you remember her saying at the last meeting that we did switch and we don't know exactly what it's going to be. So that's why the 48's in there, but hopefully they're going to be a lot smaller than that. Because
we haven't used it hardly all this past month because the initial cost was getting everything back up to where it should be because the previous company didn't do their job, which none of us know because we don't know anything about this. We don't monitor the server. We don't know what's going on. We spent a lot of hours getting everything back up to where it should be, updated, and all the security and all the stuff that we need to do. And now moving forward, it's probably, I don't have a good guess on the hours that we're going to need. I don't know how often something's going to go haywire. I don't know how often my monitor's going to crap out or it won't talk to the printer or whatever, minor things that they can remote in for. We have no way to know that. I could almost guarantee that it's going to be a hell of a lot less than what we paid this past or this current fiscal year. And I would gladly bring a supplemental forward at some point to reduce that number, but just pulling money out of it right now, I mean, we can certainly do that, but it doesn't guarantee that I'm not going to have to spend it.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm not trying to be rude about it. It's just, you would think you could get a contract for a small town for a not to exceed, but obviously that's not the way they're doing it. But
they don't have a contract. It's a per hour fee. They charge us by the hour. And they're not going to have a not to exceed because that's not how they work. It's not a per project thing.
have we reached out to other communities our size just to see who they use and how they work it? Because it just seems like honestly, it seems like a license to steal from cities where you don't have control over the hours that they're billing you. It's like a lawyer, right? You get the surprise bill in the mail later. Here's what we did. And none of us know what they do, right?
Right, but that's, again, how do you shop for something and when nobody knows what they do? How do you figure that out? How do you get someone and they spew out a whole bunch of crap that nobody understands and it's like, okay.
Right. I was just hoping that, I guess I was hoping that you had a conversation with what they charged the previous year to the new people and they would have said, oh, well, that's ridiculous. We can beat that or something.
Because the previous people weren't doing anything for the money we were paying them. These people, I can show you every second they spend doing stuff. I get a ridiculous amount of detail.
Okay.
If you want to pull some out of that line item, that's fine.
I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying there seems like that's just a lot of money and it doesn't seem to go down.
But if we're going to talk about it for 20 minutes and then not just leave it alone, I don't get the point of that either.
Go ahead, George.
Well, my point was the cost of that is another man almost, that was my point.
No, I know.
So.
That, yeah.
I think that the whole discussion that we're seem going around is involving salaries 1500 and the newly revised proposed 244,688. And could we get a consensus that that's either the way we want to go, which seems pretty logical, or not?
I couldn't hear a word you
Somebody
said.
translate that.
I'm sorry. Josette, did
Somebody
you hear what he said?
translate that.
So George is asking if the salary in the amended proposed budget, is there consensus with the 244,688? Is that the way he wants to know if there's a consensus of the budget committee to approve that?
All right, because that I couldn't quite get the last of your sentence there.
He's looking at general admin, payroll expense, 1,500 salaries.
Mhm.
Wanting to know if there's consensus of the budget committee that the 244,688 in the revised proposed column is something you all can agree on and move forward, or not.
Well, it didn't change any, it just shifted over to cemetery. So I guess we need to talk about if we really want to charge the cemetery that 7,179.
Why don't you look at the cemetery and look at the revised cash carry forward?
I did.
Okay.
It went up 7,000 and roughly 500, and we added 7,200 worth of wages and salaries to make up for it. So what I guess I was hoping to see some cost savings and out of other areas, not just shifting, but to be honest with you.
What other areas did you want to see cost savings in? Like if you
Well,
were
I
going
don't
to
IT.
Well, let's talk about General Administrative 1660-00, advertising. That our actual today to $1,759. We have this fantasy forecast that we're going to spend 10,000 in a month.
I'm going to spend 6,000 on Friday.
And then all of a sudden we're 9,000 for next year. So 6,000 on Friday for what?
This reader board that we're going in on the school with.
Sorry, I can't hear.
The reader board.
the information board that was approved and that the school, fire department and the city are going in on together?
That's under advertising?
Well, where else would you have it be?
Well, I don't know. It just seems like advertising is putting ads in the paper to me, but.
I could make up a line item that said reader board sign. I mean, it doesn't really matter what we put it under.
The tricky part is if we add a line item, it's got to stay there till it falls off the budget. So we try and collaborate, consolidate the ones that make sense where we'll remember what it was.
Okay, well, so if we did spend it on this year and the reader board's done, why do we need 9,000 next year?
I think what I did there, JR, I looked at my notes and I don't have anything in there. My guess is that we hadn't gotten that bill yet when I did the proposed budget. And so I had added that 6,000 to that for next year. And then when we got the invoice, I updated the forecast. So we could easily pull that $6,000 out of that advertising for next year.
Okay, well, there's something.
Really all that's for is for, like you said, it's for public notices and job postings and so.
Advertisement.
I understand, and thank you for humoring me. You guys know the budget 10,000 times better than we do, and if it's not listed exactly where it is, all we can do is ask questions.
Yeah, that was a miss on my part. So yeah, we can easily reduce that.
So we're going to reduce 1660-00 to 3,000 in the revised proposed for public notices, columbarium advertisements, job postings. So then that $6,000 you're proposing would go to contingency then?
Well, it doesn't really matter where it goes, but the question is if everybody's good with charging the cemetery, when the whole point of hiring this person was so we can use the cemetery funds for the improvement of the cemetery. But if we start chipping away at the wages, I'm just a little concerned that there'll be pretty soon nothing left. And then next year we say, well, we got to add 30% for wages. And I don't know, are we going to do a set amount in the cemetery for part of this new person, or are we going to do it right out of general fund the way it passed council?
Well, the way it passed council was to fund it out of general fund with the intention that if the cemetery did start receiving more revenues, that we would then shift some of those salary costs to the cemetery sometime in the year through a supplemental. So it was never the intention for the general fund to just pay for that position 100%, no matter how much money the cemetery had. But we didn't come up with what that percentage would look like as far as revenue versus salary or whatever.
Chairman,
Go ahead, Bruce.
I understand JR's concerns. My personal belief is each one of these funds need to pay for themselves whenever possible. If you look back historically at that cemetery fund, it never has. It's always been right about where it's at right now. So that's with the additional money that we found, that we sold here recently, the plots. That's where it came from, right? Burial and plot sales.
Yeah.
You don't show that in your revised budget. But so the onus falls on that fund to become creative enough to pay its way. Part of that is that columbarium, and I think that you'll see through the next year or two, you'll see a significant increase of income in that fund there. So even if it is only $6,000, JR, I think it's $6,000 that the cemetery should pay for. They should put in every bit that they can within reason. We don't want to break the fund, but they also should contribute. So, and it's up to the council and the committee, the cemetery committee, to be visionary enough about how they can make more money there. And that's a driving factor when a budget becomes, it drives people to do things. So I would not take that off.
Well, I agree with you, Bruce, that it should pay its fair share. But you and I both know that that cemetery could be done and taken care of with a part-time position, which it was before, which didn't include all of the benefits. So the benefits are coming into play because of the other 2/3 that the city wants to do everything else. So I just want to know what you thought of it as fair as far as the benefit package being charged to the cemetery also.
Well, that's a different conversation from what I was trying to get at. I was just trying to speak to that they should put their fair share in whenever possible. As to the other issue, whether we could contract that out and achieve at least a function there of some semblance that would make everybody happy. It's not going to be what it was there for a year or two, but I think, it probably could be done through a contract. This notion that a contractor or subcontractor cannot use our equipment, I think that's a false equivalent. I don't buy that. We do it all the time out in the woods. Subcontractors or the city administrator, which is the cemetery manager, can advise and control that subcontractor just like she could a regular employee. And there's nothing.
The tricky part with that is that then our insurance would have to cover them.
It'd have to be
And
licensed.
I think it's doable.
But then that's a cost that I think we're not paying attention to, because it's not gonna cost us nothing to add this person that's not held under the same standards or regulations as an employee to be able to use our equipment. So there's a cost that is incurred with that.
I think this position's more than just mowing the lawn, though, as a contractor would do. I think they're wanting someone to be there for the burials and take care of other issues up there, which I understand.
That would be one.
Noni, did you have something?
Yes, I noticed on something, I don't remember which, that Stephanie had made this meeting from 6:30 to 7:30. And if that's the time that we have go-to-meeting scheduled, then we're going to have to start reaching conclusions here soon. No, but that's what she said. The meeting was for 1 hour.
So would you guys like to mull this over and move on to how the other change that we're proposing for the tree thing and then come back? Or do you want to, someone want to make a proposal and see if it lives or dies? Or I don't know where we're at.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
It seems like the cemetery being connected to the overall position is at least part of the challenge here. Are the other tasks that the facility maintenance person would be doing freestanding? Is that a legitimate need that would support a position without the cemetery being involved?
Well, I guess it depends on how well, I mean, we've talked in the past about the lack of maintenance and then the bigger costs that are incurred when you don't maintain things. These two buildings, the library and city hall, are 20 years old or 21 years old, something like that. So we've never done preventative maintenance other than the random contractor coming in to fix a big problem. So I guess the idea would be you could not spend the money now. Eventually, the city is going to have to spend money to do the maintaining of its structures, whether it's responsive after the fact or preventative in some capacity like this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it just seems like there might be a different way of viewing this whole thing. If you could hire a person to do that, and then that person come up to the cemetery for 2 or 3 hours and bill that time to the cemetery, maybe it's a way around all this chaos that we're experiencing.
Well, so the tricky part is I don't know where you guys are seeing this pool of applicants. We never get a pool of even more than 3, no matter what the job is. There's not this huge pool of people that want to come do either a part-time gig or a combined gig. We had, so I think it's kind of a little bit dreamland to assume that all those people are out there. They're not answering the ad. We had it Facebook, Indeed, in the newspaper. We have it all these places, and we still get less than a handful. So I don't know that there's a person that would just come do maintenance on the facilities that isn't going to charge you $25 an hour like a contractor would.
Well, Chairman, in the final analysis, it comes down to what you can afford. That's the question here. That's
Right.
what we're dealing with here. All these other things are just pieces of the pie that management has to deal with. But in the end, it comes down to how much money do you have to spend on this?
Right.
And
And
the question right now is, it does not look like there's a whole bunch of money there for that.
So I guess my statement would be, that's not news to us about affording it. The tricky part is eventually you will have to pay for it. If we don't have preventative maintenance, it's not going to matter what I want to do, or if we can even afford it. We're just going to have to pay for it. It's gonna come in the source of a leak that ruins sheetrock that does this, or toilets that overflow and ruin subfloor, or the sheetrock in the bathroom. Eventually, we're gonna have to pay for it. And I don't see it as this, everything's zeroed out in order to try and pay for this person. If it's weird how you're looking at, yeah, so we had a big year of cash carry forward coming into this one, then freaking COVID hit, and now we're gonna shortchange everything because we don't have $97,000 in contingency. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, as far as your income, you're still getting the same income whether COVID happened or not. It's based on property taxes. People are still paying their property taxes, and they are going up at the moment. So you're in an upward trend right now. You know, it's just a matter of time before the gravity takes over and we go the other direction. Then you're going to have to do something that's going to be a lot worse than what you're talking about here. You're going to have to start cutting positions.
But the part you guys aren't wanting to pay attention to is the same cycle of, we're in an up point where everything in the buildings that the city owns is not that bad. At some point, you're going to drop off, and everything you didn't pay attention to is going to come due all at one time. And what are you going to do then? We're trying to proactively look forward so that the city doesn't have that huge drop off where we're going to be spending tons of money on things that we could have dealt with, because we're not making public works come and climb up in the attic and check for leaks and do all that kind of stuff. We don't have the money to do that with the current staff. If that's how you guys want to play it, and we'll just ride it out and see, fingers crossed that those things don't happen in some sort of big wind coming, then okay. If that's what you guys really want to do, we were trying to be proactive and thoughtful in how the city could keep its assets in a working condition for the longest time possible. But if you don't want to do that, okay.
Well, I have one question that I would ask, and then we're kind of off track here. But have you documented all these things that you need done, and have you presented them to the powers that be?
Who are the powers?
I've never heard. Well, your council.
In what form would I present them to council? It's not council's job to maintain everything.
But you're asking them to spend a fairly large sum of money. And if they have any fiduciary responsibility, they kind of want to know.
Sure, except council's the ones that bring me the problems a lot of the time. They say, this doesn't look right, that's broken, this thing's this, that thing. I mean, everybody sees them. It's not that we're hiding these potential fixes. Everybody sees the gutters leak when it rains, and so I'm like, I don't feel like it's something that's been hidden. It's kind of in plain view. All the roofs on City Hall and the library are all heat damaged. They're all faded, and so there's, I don't know. I never presented it to them in some thorough report.
Yeah, well, you made the case then.
I made what?
You made the case for the position?
Yeah, in the report, we did a 3-page staff report about it.
Hey, Bruce, Bruce, you made the statement that the income was on the upswing when in fact it's 1,344,997 as proposed, which is down $45,137 down this year.
I was speaking offhand. I didn't. I apologize.
Well,
I just say that things are not that bad now, as opposed to they keep bringing up COVID. It's anyway.
Anyway, that's part of the thing that has me concerned is we're spending more and our income is down. So
Not compared to the originally adopted budget. That's the supplemental figures that you're looking at as far as the income versus the proposed income.
I didn't hear all that, but I'm going by the numbers that you gave me.
That's the supplemental budget that we passed. We had the two supplementals to increase the income in the building department section of the admin fund. That's not what was originally adopted. So the proposed budget is not way below what we adopted for this current year originally. We just did the supplementals to counteract all the boom that we're having for the permitting. So we know for a fact that the builder's gonna have 12 more houses that he's building starting next year. So I know that my proposed income for that section is probably pretty conservative. But that's how we usually do it, just so that we don't get ourselves in a bind.
Okay, so you're confident our income this year will actually end up being more than last year?
I don't know if it'll be more, but I don't think it's gonna be less. I mean, I don't think there's gonna be a huge deficiency compared to the current year, unless the building just falls off in August or something.
Go ahead, Noni.
When we're looking at the adopted budget for the current year and the proposed budget for this year, we have to remember that the supplemental budgets that have been approved don't show on here.
They are in there, they just don't show as a
They
supplemental.
don't show as such, but they do show in the numbers that we are presented for this proposed budget.
Right, the supplemental
It's
budget,
not always what is proposed doesn't necessarily, or rather usually includes something that's not in the current year's adopted budget. The variations of the supplementals. We get that. The numbers don't lie, they just don't tell everything we need.
Right.
I said that I should have thought to send those supplemental budgets with the budget document. It occurred to me.
I didn't think of it either.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I might remind this committee that the Vernonia City Council did approve a maintenance cemetery care worker position in March. We did it in a workshop, but it was presented at a council meeting. We approved it. We posted the job on the city website for, I believe, 10 days. It was posted. We got an application. There was an application deadline. One or two individuals responded and have already been through the interview process. So it's, unless we change it, go back in the future and change that and reverse that, which I guess we could, but this is what we're faced with in this committee right now.
Right. Well, I think we all realize that, Rick, but I think what I'm worried about is every year we raise basically by 7%. We propose a 5% increase for everybody and a 2.5% stipend. And I'm just worried, is that going to have to come to an end in a couple of years, Josette? If there's any kind of downturn, or are you confident that'll be able to continue forever?
Well, hopefully it'll come to an end when council puts a step system in place.
Yeah.
And then the known quantity, when someone takes a job here, they will have a step schematic they can look at to know how many years are in between bump ups and their raise and all of that. That would be the goal that council, because then it's kind of a no-brainer. We don't get into these spots where there's kind of too many unknowns. We'll know what the increase will be because we'll know who's going up a step.
At what point would it be appropriate to suggest a freeze of increases until that step is put in place? Who would make that recommendation, and what would it take for it to be approved?
So you mean
Just
a freeze,
to kind of
like the current year freeze, like going into 2021, 22, no one gets anything?
well, no more 5% increases until there's a step, formula put in place, like you said, because until it has to be done, it's not going to be done. If nobody's getting 5% increases, they too would want to see that done.
Well,
As long as giving 5% away, nobody's going to care.
Well, I don't think staff has really any say in when it gets done. It's really council and myself driving that to be on quickly upcoming agendas so that it's all hammered out by the time we're getting ready for budget and it's been adopted before the 2022-2023 discussions for budget.
The budget committee can't do that.
No, it's got to be council.
No, I'm not suggesting that the budget committee do it. I'm suggesting that somebody on the budget committee make a strong recommendation that the council do it right away.
I think the council already has that feeling, right? And
Eventually
staff
it'll have to happen.
about it would be a lot easier for us too than, I mean, with it not being in a union, it's kind of, there's never been that kind of setup for everybody that's outside of the union.
Well, I can tell you from being in a union, you're lucky to get 3% in a year, unless it's a strange year. With no stipend, just 3%. And sometimes a little bit extra toward your retirement, maybe.
And it depends on the industry you're in too.
Yeah.
Well, to me, this is the here and now. That's where we're looking forward. We're dealing with what's going on right now. In 2021, we had in the adopted budget, $97,000 in contingency. This year, what are we going to end up with, Ange, if we go forward with the proposed changes that staff has made?
In the contingency?
Yep.
We'll end up with $50,070 if the $6,000 off IT goes, or off the advertising goes to contingency.
Just for clarification, I didn't. 15,000 or 50,000?
$50,070.
So where are you going to come up with some money if you run out of that?
Run out of what?
Cash carry
About contingency.
Well, I don't foresee running out of it because depending on what the expense would be, if it's a facilities expense, potentially we would be going to council to talk to them about using facilities reserve. If it's a operating shortfall, then I can't foresee that. I don't know. And I think we could institute a spending freeze. There's lots of options of how you could solve that problem if you saw that coming down the road.
Well, there's a reason why you have a contingency. It's those unforeseen issues that you can't see and nobody expects you to. Your reserve levels in this general fund, admin, what do they amount to?
In the general fund facilities reserve?
Yep.
$100,000.
Combined?
Well, there's only one.
And that's operating?
The general fund facility reserve is what it's called.
What about admin? So admin just takes out of that general fund
That's
reserve?
what it's, yeah, it's admin, library, police, whatever. It's for the facilities, not the fund particularly.
So is that, is the general fund got great big gobs of money in it for contingency?
You're looking at it already.
$50,000.
Yeah, that's it. It would be $50,070.
That includes police, library.
Yeah, they don't have to run contingency.
Just a bunch of entities there involved in that. $50,000.
It's been that way forever.
And then the available cash on hand is another place to dip into, correct?
No.
Oh, that's
That's
just money.
money that starts the budget. That's not protected. Part of, no.
Oh, has that already been planned on being spent? Because it says it's carried forward.
It is carried forward, and then we create the budget. That's part of the overall revenue of the fund. You add the
Right.
carry forward to all the income line items to come up with your total.
Cash on hand carries forward until you get the money from the tax. That's what you use.
Right. I see you listed it as income.
That's what it is.
It
I mean,
is.
It gets folded into the current budget, the next budget.
Mhm.
It's used.
But the taxes
spend
don't
it.
come until November,
They spend it.
so you need that carryover.
So does anyone have a proposal?
I'll make a proposal that we tentatively approve the general administrative fund with the $6,000 from miscellaneous, from advertising slipping down into the contingency with the revised budget.
Is there a
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. George Tice,
Aye.
Donald Norman,
Aye.
Noni Anderson,
Aye.
Rick Hobart,
Aye.
Sam Potter,
Aye.
Dale Webb,
Nay.
J.R. Allen,
Nay.
Bruce McNair.
Nay.
Motion carried.
I don't know what the hell we're even doing here.
So do we want to look at the cemetery page and tentatively approve the amended changes? Is there any discussion on the cemetery amended page? Is anyone willing to make a motion to tentatively approve the revised proposed cemetery fund?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Noni seconds. I'll call the roll. Sorry, I'm doing two jobs at once. Hold on. Got to write down who did stuff for Stephanie. Okay. Dale Webb,
Aye.
Sam Potter,
Aye.
Bruce McNair,
Aye.
Rick Hobart,
Aye.
J.R. Allen,
Aye.
Noni Anderson,
Aye.
George Tice,
Aye.
Donald Norman.
Aye.
Motion carried. So the last fund we have was the last page of that amended proposed document that Angie sent you, which is streets and pathways. So if you look down to other expense 1615-01, the streetscape maintenance, that was a line item that existed a few years ago. The council at the time had put some money in that, and then in subsequent years they didn't allocate any money to it, so it just rolled forward into the cash carry forward. So the line item had kind of disappeared, but staff is proposing that in the revised proposed budget, that's where the 20,000 would sit for the potential tree project. And then the bottom line of 998-00 contingency would be lessened by the 20,000. A couple reasons for us proposing it come out of streets and pathways is, say the project, one reason is just for kind of clean budgeting, that the fund that's going to do the project is where the money is coming from. And then if the project happens halfway or all the way or not at all, then you're not kind of having to go back and pull money from other funds that funded it. So that's the proposal from staff, is to put that money there, and then council can move forward following the surveys being turned in with what they want to do with the potential tree, downtown trees. Are there questions, clarifications, other proposals? Dale, go ahead.
Yeah, I know we had this streetscape maintenance probably in the budget at one time. I have a real hard time. The sole revenue source, correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, is gas tax money pretty much. Other than we get the ODOT grants for the paving projects. But other than that, it's basically gas tax revenue. And I have a hard time believing gas tax revenue is buying trees. But to me, downtown beautification benefits everybody in the city. It's the same argument I use on the streetlights. That certain things are ambiance that the general fund pays for, and pavements and pathways are things that we pay with gas tax money. So anyhow, that's just and I guess we can internalize this and have that debate when we go to spend the funds, if we don't want to have this big blown up argument and go back to general fund trying to find money. But that's where I'm at on that.
Go ahead, JR.
Don't you want to fight global warming, Dale? Trees suck up carbon dioxide and promote walking and walkability in your city. It's the same 4 paragraphs we've read on everything we've ever passed.
No comment.
Go ahead, George.
The historic maintenance cost on trimming the trees and getting them out of the way of the business owners has been I'll call it a major problem when the tree grows into a business building. Trees are just a bad idea in the downtown zone. They're great in the cemetery. They're great in the parks. Trees are great in the woods. You can get out and harvest, but not in the downtown sidewalks, to be lifting up sidewalks and causing vast financial difficulties for the city.
While I understand your point of view, George, council had passed to earmark money to be put into the budget, and it was missed by staff. That was a mistake of staff in applying for the Travel Oregon grant. We forgot to put this money in here. It still hasn't been fully cooked, and council will be doing that before they go following through on the project. Go ahead, Noni.
I just wanted to note that whether there are street trees or not is not a discussion for the budget committee. That's for the council.
Yeah. So are there any?
Again, I somewhat disagree. The way the money is spent is the budget committee's concerns. I mean, the spending of the money.
Council.
Oh, wait a minute. The spending of the money is what I meant.
Yeah.
So I agree with it I think you were headed with it, but that's already been discussed and beat to death. And I just don't know if we can afford it, honestly. But we seem to be spending money on other things.
So are there any other clarifying questions for this fund, this revised proposed fund? Any other comment from anyone? Anyone willing to make a motion to tentatively approve the revised proposed streets and pathways fund?
I move we approve the Streets and Pathways Fund as amended.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Donald Norman?
Nay.
George Tice?
Nay.
Bruce McNair?
Nay.
Noni Anderson?
Aye.
Rick Hobart?
Aye.
J.R. Allen?
Aye.
Sam Potter?
Aye.
Dale Webb?
Aye.
Okay, so motion carried. So now we go back to the entire general fund that's all wrapped into all those funds you've tentatively approved. Would anyone like to make a motion to tentatively approve the general fund?
I will make that motion that we tentatively approve the general fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Rick. Okay, I'll call the roll. Dale Webb.
Aye.
Sam Potter.
Aye.
J.R. Allen.
Aye.
Rick Hobart.
Aye.
Noni Anderson.
Aye.
Bruce McNair.
Aye with distinct reservations.
George Tice.
Aye.
Donald Norman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, so then at the bottom of your agenda, there's
Yes.
3 different motions there that we need to make to move this forward to going to council. Is anyone willing to make the first motion?
Question on general.
You're breaking up, George.
Our agenda.
You're
I
breaking
can't
up.
hear you.
You're breaking up.
Get closer to your mic.
The general fund reserve.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do the reserve thing.
Oh, yeah.
Turning to general fund reserve. Thanks, George. Page 58, line item 946799. needs to be changed to 24,000. And the unappropriated balance will be
126, 286.
126, 286. Hold on 1 second, sorry.
You're on page 58.
Correct.
And it's 156, what?
126,
126,
286.
286.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to put forth a motion, Chairman.
go ahead.
I put forth a motion to approve the general fund reserve with the aforementioned changes.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second
Is there a second? George Price is the second.
Seconded.
I'll call the roll again. Rick Hobart,
Aye.
Noni Anderson,
Aye.
Bruce McNair,
Aye.
George Tice,
Aye.
Donald Norman,
Aye.
J.R. Allen,
Aye.
Sam Potter,
Aye.
Dale Webb.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, so now we can go to the motions on the agenda.
So do we just go down in order?
Sure. I don't know that you have to do it one way or the other, but
I'll make the first motion to accept all funds for fiscal 20 year 2021, 2022 as amended, and recommend to City Council for adoption.
okay. Bruce made the motion, Noni second. I'll call the roll. Dale Webb,
Aye.
Sam
Aye.
J.R. Allen,
Aye.
Rick Hobart,
Aye.
Noni Anderson, Noni,
Aye.
Bruce McNair,
Aye.
George Tice,
Aye.
Donald Norman.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We moving on?
We're moving on.
Okay. I'll make a motion to present to council a balanced budget for adoption for the fiscal year 2021, 2022.
Seconded.
Okay, it's seconded. Donald Norman,
Aye.
George Tice,
Aye.
Rick Hobart,
Aye.
Noni Anderson,
Aye.
Bruce McNair,
Aye.
J.R. Allen,
Aye.
Sam Potter,
Aye.
Dale Webb.
Aye.
Motion carried. So the last one is the state revenue sharing.
I'll make a motion that we accept state revenue share and approve a tax, so the motion to accept state shared revenues and property tax rate of $5.8163 per thousand of assessed value and recommend to council for acceptance and approval.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Rick Hobart,
Aye.
Noni Anderson,
Aye.
Bruce McNair,
Aye.
George Tice,
Aye.
Donald Norman,
Aye.
Dale Webb,
Aye.
Sam Potter,
Aye.
Aye.
motion carried. Okay. That's all we have, people.
That wasn't so hard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, see, it felt hard.
Thank you all.
Happy Memorial Day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Well.
Uh,